should be a Hall of Famer?
No, I do not. I think all these Hall of Fames in every single sport, not just basketball. In basketball, it's a collegiate. Again, it's also college. It's a combined thing. It's not that way in football, and it's not that way in baseball. It's the Hall of the very good. All right. When I think of Hall of Famer, I want to have no doubt about it in my mind. Hey, when you see him in your own eyes, that's a Hall of Famer. And and Stoudemire is a very good player. Nobody's arguing that. Very good. But he's not an all-time great. And an all-time great are the ones who should be in Hall of Fame. He's very good. He's not an all-time great. So no, not a Hall of Famer.
All of that. I would love to give it to Amar'e Stoudemire, but I can't make a strong argument that he's a Hall of Famer. I can't.
Amar'e Stoudemire is going into the Hall of Fame, which he should be. He's a 5-time All-Star, 6-time All-Star. Before Melo even got there, he turned the Knicks back up, had a great run with Phoenix, Steve Nash. So, yeah, Amar'e Stoudemire should definitely be a Hall of Famer. So, you got Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is a Hall of Fame. I know he got a lot of slack for getting eliminated first rounds. He got that one championship with Boston. But Doc Rivers is definitely a Hall of Famer. I don't want to hear that Doc is not a Hall of Famer because that's insane.
I think most people don't understand this. I won't be long-winded that the Naismith Pro Basketball Hall of Fame is not the NBA Hall of Fame. It's the cumulative Hall of Fame of high school, college, professional. It's not the NBA Hall of Fame. And I think it's time for NBA Hall of Fame. And also, I think All the Smoke podcast, they had one of the best interviews. They had I forget the name of they had a couple of baseball players. I think I forget his name, from South Central. Eric Davis, I think his name was. They had him on there, and that's the best interview I heard all year. And he talked about that Major League Baseball don't even own the Baseball Hall of Fame. They're a separate entity. And I think it's time for the NBA to have a National Basketball Association Hall of Fame. I think it's time for them to have their own Hall of Fame. So there's been a lot of talk about Amar'e Stoudemire. I think he was a 6-time All-Star. He was All-NBA, first team 2007, second team 4 times. Rookie of the year, flashed out of high school. I want to say he's from the Orlando area. I could be wrong about that. I have no issue with Amar'e Stoudemire getting into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Now, if you had to ask me, is he an NBA Hall of Famer? I wouldn't mind putting him in there, bro. I don't mind it. I think he might be on that line. But Stoudemire was really good. He was elite. He was probably top 10, top 15, no more than top 20 at one point for a nice time. Steve Nash got a whole bunch of people paid. He got Amar'e Stoudemire paid. He got Tim Thomas paid. He got Joe Johnson paid. I feel like Sean Marion. Stoudemire was making millionaires. Almost 100 millionaires left and right. And phenomenal player. Him and Steve Nash and Amar'e Stoudemire, they had one of the best pick and rolls. Amar'e, man, coming out of high school, defying the odds. His mid-range jumper improved. His athleticism at the rack improved. He had some highlights. He was perfect for Steve Nash. I really had no issue with it. I know I'm going to be in the minority, but disclaimer, I'm a Amar'e Stoudemire fan. Still is, always will be of him on the basketball court. And he was a man amongst boys. His quickness, from him just being a bigger guy to developing a mid-range jumper to, coming off that pick and roll, coming downhill, that tenacity. It's like that tenacity that, you only see a handful of players got today. I was watching Zion dunk on Wemby in front of David Robinson. That's what people love about Zion so much. Ain't too many people bringing that ferocity no more. You used to have Sean Kemp and Tony McDyess in his prime. It's Tom Chambers. Like, the game is missing that emotional electricity. And Stoudemire used to bring it, bro. I used to love watching him and Steve. I used to love watching Stoudemire in New York. And then, he kind of said some things when Melo came on and kind of messed the vibes up. And that's kind of what Ben Wallace was saying. If Melo joined the Pistons, he would have killed the vibe. I'm paraphrasing there, but that's pretty much what he said. But Stoudemire, man, I ain't gonna bullshit. Stoudemire was nice. He developed. Phoenix ran his course. Phoenix ran his course when Robert Horry, it'd have been totally different had they went to that finals. They would have played the Detroit Pistons in that final, I believe. And I don't think they would have beat us. We used to beat the shit out of Phoenix especially in the playoff atmosphere with a beat Phoenix. But let's say Phoenix did beat us. I think people would have no issue with, crowning Amar'e Stoudemire Hall of Famer. None, but we know what happened. Robert Horry made one of his last great contributions. He hip checked Steve Nash, busted his head open. Some sons left the bench, some important sons. I think Stoudemire is one of the players that left the bench. And they got rid of Stoudemire. They suspended him a couple games. That's how the Suns' pretty era, it ended, But Stoudemire, man, I mean, coming out of high school where he came from, I mean, I want to know the percentage on high schoolers that came out that made the All-Star game or who had the longevity of. Remember, this is the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. This is not the National Basketball Association Hall of Fame. I would like to see the success rate of high schoolers who made the All-Star team. Or who had the resume, who made All NBA at least one time. I would love to see that list. We had guys like Jonathan Bender, who I thought was going to be pretty good. Steven Jackson was forced to go straight to high school, who had a solid career. All in all, I feel like any high schooler who made the jump and hung around the NBA and contributed and won, I feel like they should be a Hall of Famer. I think people don't understand how hard that. I think they should be I'm not saying an NBA Hall of Famer, but a pro. Any of these dudes who Steven Jackson, who hung around the league and contributed, Tyson Chandler, who was, I think, Defensive Player of the Year, contributed around the league, and I think those guys deserve to be Hall of Famers just off rip. Because you know how hard it is. I mean, remember we had the brother, man, everybody loved his brother growing up. What was the brother's name out of New York? LeBron kind of ended his vibe and shit in the Nike or the ABC Adidas camp. Wow, what was Lenny Cook? People thought Lenny Cook was going to be a shoe-in. I mean, you can go on and on. People thought Sebastian Telfair was going to be a shoe-in. Sean Livingston was supposed to be like the next Magic, but he busted his knee. I mean, it was a lot of guys that came straight from high school and who made a 10-year career, who made a NBA All-Star game. I feel like those people, they should be in the Hall of Fame by default because it's so many things that can go wrong from your transition from high school to the NBA. I mean, J.R. Smith, he came straight from high school. Josh Smith. I think they all Hall of Famers in my opinion, to change your family's lifestyle, to make it through the league. Obviously LeBron. I mean, that, to get through all the Sharks and get through all the hate, and for you and your family to make that transition. I remember J.R. Smith, his family made him buy all of them a house, and they lived in a house, and they basically said, hey man, you ain't gonna fuck this generational wealth up. We gonna make sure you don't fuck this up. And I respected it. And guess what? He wasn't a guy that was like, well, this my money. No, he listened to his parents. He said, my parents can get me here after 18 years. I'm gonna listen to him. And shout out to his parents. That's my opinion on it, man. I know people not gonna like it, but I had no problem. I remember Prime Stoudemire, man, before he had the knee injuries. That was one of my favorite guys at that time. That was one of my favorite players. Stoudemire, man, like people just so quick to forget how good that guy was. And him and Dwight at his pinnacle, it's another high school player that, shout out to Daryl Dawkins. A lot of these dudes who made that transition, dog, Kevin Garnett, a lot of these guys that made a transition that I think people don't understand how hard the transition was, bro. It's a hard transition. Man. I think he a Hall of Famer. I'm going to be in the minority. I know people going to feel a certain type of way. I think he a Hall of Famer, man. So my opinion, I know people going to disagree, but hey, hit the NBA talk. Remember, it's the Naismith, not the NBA Hall of Fame, but I think he'll be NBA Hall of Famer. I think he really tweet that line, toe that line. But I like Stoudemire, man. As a player, man, monster, bro. Stratified G, man. I stay up late to watch them boys play. And I'm one of those guys that was a Steve Nash fan. I didn't hate Steve Nash. People say, oh, you deserve this. He motherfucker made millionaires. Shit, him and Dirk in Dallas, man. That's who everybody's playing NBA Live with back in the day. Him and Dirk in Dallas, man, please. But hey, man, hit the NBA Talk playlist. Hit the link in the description. Say find me everywhere. X, Facebook, Kick, Twitch, Instagram, the whole 9 piece.